Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on Avril Lavigne, and through his song Complicated, we looked at what can we do in this world to be ourselves and to just be. So I found that one encouraging. We're going from there to a bunch of guys that were formed in 1977. So with bands like the Sex Pistols and the Clash and a few others, punk had been a bit of a thing for years, and the post-punk scene was really and truly happening. Of course, the Clash and London Calling was a very significant album for that. And this thing called New Wave was starting to come in. Now, New Wave went away from, yes, you had to play your instruments on stage, but it started to become a show, and musicians started to become characters on stage. This is what very much happened with these guys. In 1977, they were known as the Ants, and they were kind of criticised for high camp and over-sexualised image on stage. And there was a bit of a shake-up in 1980 when most of Adam Ant's backing band, who, of course, Adam was Stuart Leslie Goddard, went off to form Bow Wow Wow, and he thought, right, what are we going to do now? And then he found some new guys, and Adam and the Ants were formed. And between 1980 and 1982, there were 3 studio albums. After the Adam and the Ants dispersed, just a very short space of time really, between 1982 and 2002, Adam released 8 studio albums in his own right. Adam and the Ants have been cited as a major influence for bands like 9 Inch Nails, very much that whole punk rock attitude type of thing. And this is very much what Adam and the Ants were. And with the advent of MTV in the 1980s, and of course, the first song played on MTV was Video Killed the Radio Star by Buggles. Very much, we weren't just videoing musos on stage, we actually had to tell a bit of a story. And we'll actually get on to one of Adam and the Ants clips like that in just a second. And so, yeah, when genres change and we change into something new, of course, bands like Duran Duran, very much new wave, a few bands like that really capitalise on what it is that you need to be characters on stage, and absolutely massive arenas were built around that time to encompass the number of fans that were going to concerts. Of course, that was the thing, you know, because they were idols and pin-up people, really, you know, people just had to flock to see them. Adam and the Ants and Duran Duran amongst a few others. And very much Adam and the Ants are part of the second British invasion thanks to this video medium. Of course, the first British invasion with bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Animals. So, and of course, Duran Duran were English as well. Now, when you think of Adam and the Ants, the song you think of is Ant Music. This came off of Kings of the Wild Frontier in 1980. How incredible is that? Is that album title? It gives you a bit of an inkling into what these guys were trying to do. They weren't just trying to kind of dabbling in this new thing. They were well and truly immersed in it and doing everything they could. Because if you don't give yourself fully to something and you're just kind of in it halfway, people don't kind of understand it. But if you are well and truly immersed in the new thing, people go, oh yeah, this is new, this is pretty cool. Now, of course, the thing about Ant Music is the lyrics and the chorus. Unplug the jukebox and do yourself a favour. That music's lost its taste, so try another flavour. Ant Music, ba 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 ba, and that incredible drumming that goes on behind the scenes. Of course, this is what Adam and the Ants were renowned for, was there with the drumming. Of course, there were 2 kits in this particular band. There's something I admire about the absolute courageousness of these lyrics. Like, it's almost like, you know, let's just embrace the new, and let's just you know, get into the new thing, and let's actually not remember the old thing quite as much. We get into the new thing. And I'm just wondering, how often do we ever get to the point of singing lyrics like this one? You'd like, unplug the jukebox. It's like we're completely shaking things up and changing things up here, and this song particularly stands out as one that is very, very courageous in its lyrics, and one that really compelled people to change. And because sometimes to actually make a change, you've actually got to make it so compelling that people just come along for the ride. So I'm just wondering, in our lives and the way that we are, do we ever get to the point we sort of say, unplug the jukebox and do yourself a favour? It's not like he's not saying that we're the new band, by the way. He's saying music. So he's actually talking about music, new music. And of course they're saying, well, we're kind of ushering that in, but it's the music that is changing. It is the music that's still the centre of of what Adam and the Ants are all about. And I think often cooking shows too, when they get to the end of a particular dish, they talk about how good the food was. I mean, obviously the chef has got everything together to do that, but it's the food that still becomes the centre of the whole show. And the chef kind of sort of into the background. Inherently, he's thinking, well, I created this, but it's about the food. Now, I think it's a really good thing to actually do here, and that is to actually give the focus on something else. And then while the focus is something else, you make the change that you need to change. So in this case, Adam and the Ants looked at music and thought, nah, we need to do something new. And they thought, well, let's let you do something new, but music still needs to be the centre of our work here. And when you add the whole clothes, and Adam and the Ants, they almost pirate gangster type of thing. The whole scarf thing and the makeup. Of course, Adam Ant was renowned for his makeup on his face. So it's kind of given him a bit of a look as well. Quite recognisable, one of the most recognisable images in the world when he was certainly around. So let's always think about how I can shake things up a bit, but not shaking up by looking at me, it's looking at what I'm doing and shaking things up that way. So if you've got a bit of an idea and you think, I'd like to actually try this different, well, look at the existing idea and look at how can I shake up the idea, and with me kind of almost getting away with it behind the scenes, and see where that goes. So good on you, Adam and the Ants, for ushering in. Of course, that late 1970s, early 1980s, everything was changing at that time. And I think the ushering in of new decades certainly does that. 1970s, we're saying goodbye to bands like the Beatles and other big bands like Yes and Led Zeppelin, and bands like that were coming up where music mastery was all the thing. Now we get into the 1980s, it's all about creating a show for fans, and because of that, the arenas didn't become big enough. So there was a bit of a progression. Going back to the Beatles, of course, who had a mania, and were also a bit about the fans, really. Well, that kind of ushered in the thing that it's not just about music, it's actually about entertainment, and what can we do to entertain. So it's interesting where music has come from and where it is going, and even today. So, well, on to the clip. So we do have AntMusic. We've got both a live version and an official version of this one, of the Kings of the Wild Frontier album of 1980. AntMusic was a massive song worldwide. It went to #1 in Australia and #2 in the UK. It was beaten by John Lennon's Imagine. That's around the time John Lennon got assassinated. So, that's quite all right. #2 in the UK is pretty amazing. And then we talked about the MTV clips and the fact you had to tell a bit of the story. Well, nothing epitomises that more than Stand and Deliver. This came off the Prince Charming album of 1981. And again, that album, that's exactly what Adam and the Ants were. They're the Prince of music in lots of ways. And just a perfect album name for them, really. The Stand and Deliver, classic case of Adam Ant taking on the rubber, the highway rubber man, the highwayman, all that sort of thing, and then having a really, really good time by the end. Prince Charming came out in 1981, and that went to gold, so pretty successful in the scheme of things. We then got Dog Eat Dog, again of Kings of the Wild Frontier album of 1980. This is very much... this is live, by the way, so that's why that one's in there. It's good to see these guys absolutely live, and they put the studio aside. These guys could actually play live really, really well, and they could actually get the sound that they needed to get. Very, very energetic stage presence, and people just brought along for the Adam and the Ants experience. We then go to Live Aid in 1985, and here we have Adam Ant in his solo career with Viva La Rock, and this is the iconic Live Aid 1985 concert. Look at the welcome he gets when he gets on stage. People love this guy, and people are hanging out to see him. And it's so good to see him get a bit of a Guernsey in Live Aid, because you know if you're performing on Live Aid, you know you've made it. And Adam Ant was actually asked to be on Live Aid, which is pretty cool. So the links to those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs are in the description below. And I've also included my last video from Avril Lavigne, so if you want to recap on her, feel free. Well, if you've come back for another one, if this is your first time to Life Reflections Through Music, welcome to everyone, and thank you for coming back. It's so good to see you all here. Well, that's it for today. Next time, we're going to go on to a guy who recently died in Australia, Archie Roach, so I thought I'd pay a bit of a tribute to him. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.